So, January is Poverty Awareness Month, and also the month in which we recognize the legacy of Dr. King, who was a fierce advocate on behalf of those experiencing poverty, segregation, and other forms of vulnerability and oppression. So, thank you very much for participating in this interview today and sharing with the constituents across the state about your work around poverty and improving lives in our community. So, can you share with us, from your perspective, our state's most pressing needs on a community level, especially as it relates to poverty and improving lives?
Certainly. I think one of the critical issues that I hear from constituents about, and that we are certainly working to address all across Virginia, is the issue of housing. And it's not just affordable housing, and it's not just the high rents that we are seeing or the inability of first-time home buyers to purchase their homes. But it's also the quality of housing too. I represent a significant portion of under-resourced and developed areas in the Richmond and Chesterfield area districts, and so many of my constituents face considerable inequities in the area of housing when they are in rental facilities, whether they're homes or apartment communities or mobile home parks. One thing we see is a degradation of the living environment. A lot of my constituents speak about issues that significantly impact their health and their children's health. We're talking about mold, infestations of mice and rats, and significant harm to their respiratory systems. And that's something we have to address. And so when we look at the full spectrum of housing, we see such critical inequities in the system, and people who are facing hardships or facing issues of poverty, working adults who work 2, 3 jobs sometimes and still can't pay the rent because of the vast divide between our extremely low minimum wage and the cost of housing in our areas. Those are all structural issues that we have to address. And it's been a significant part of the work that I've been doing to try to find some answers and solutions, bring greater rights to tenants, and to be able to address the reason why we have so few options for folks to find not just affordable housing, as I said, but housing that is actually inhabitable by their families.
Thank you. You talked a lot about those folks who are working and just still not earning enough. And all United Ways across the state really are focused on that. We found that's where the nonprofit community can fit in, where government assistance is intended for those based on the federal guidance around poverty. Nonprofits can fill in those gaps alongside other sectors in the community to really support those who are working and still living paycheck to paycheck. We use an acronym to talk about it, an acronym called ALICE. It stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. Just those folks that you're talking about. And if you're ever interested in more information about specific challenges that Alice households face, there's a website called United for Alice. You can even drill down to your specific city or county and find some really helpful insights and data about the population in your specific area. You talked about some of the causes that you're a champion of this session. Is there any specific legislation that you're working on or planning to support that will have a direct and meaningful impact on working families?
Yes, I'm really excited about one item of legislation that I'm working closely with our delegate Adele McClure on, and that is to provide more assistance to working families and to small business owners as they seek to support their employees with childcare concerns. As I'm sure you well know, childcare issues are one of the number one hardships that are faced by working families, the inability to find childcare, the inability to afford high quality childcare, and the inability to feel rest assured that children are safe and being well taken care of while mom or dad are at work. And so childcare has certainly been an issue that we've been trying to address in Virginia throughout so many of our communities. This particular item of legislation is going to be a pilot program, and it will seek to assist small business owners with 50 employees or less to be able to provide some matching funds that the state would also then provide to help their employees find high quality childcare and be assured that their children are being taken care of. So excuse me, that is a pilot program that we are going to seek to initiate this session. And then with its success, we hope to be able to broaden it in upcoming sessions as well. But, childcare is one of the number one concerns that we have in Virginia, and we don't have enough spots. We have long waiting lists. We have high costs that put childcare out of reach for so many individuals. And having high quality childcare is a critical part for our economy. Employers are struggling to meet workforce demands, and one of the number one causes why they're not able to find good employees and skilled employees is because so many families are still trying to make sure that they have adequate childcare for infants, toddlers, and young children. So we're hoping that this will be one step forward to addressing that critical need.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to hear that you're working on that. It's definitely something that we see regularly, not just in the nonprofit sector, but even our business partners who come alongside us, and the challenges that they face in employee retention and recruitment. Childcare has such a ripple effect across the community in various sectors, but also across the lifespan for children, for their parents, and as we talk about working towards retirement and being able to get into the workplace as a parent is so important for long term health and happiness as well. So, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that you are working on that. And so, lastly, if there is a favorite quote that you'd like to share, something that inspires you, brings you some resilience when it gets a little difficult, I'd love to hear what that is.
There are a lot of great quotes out there, and I know we're always searching for inspiration and motivating guidelines. As I was thinking about what something might be inspiring or resonate for me this morning, I was thinking about a quote from it's from Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet, and it's a line uttered by Polonius to his son Laertes, and it's father to son advice. But he says, "To thine own self be true." When that character in particular says that, it's meant to be a funny line in Shakespeare because Polonius is perhaps the number one hypocrite. He is a gold digger himself, and he's a sycophant in the court of Denmark. But the line itself is quite meaningful when a father says it to his son, to thine own self be true. And that reminds me of the essential need that we each have to be true to our values to continue to stand firm in our resolve and what we believe and to fight for the things that really matter. And so I think about that oftentimes without the hypocrisy of Polonius, but with the real intent of a statement like that, that before we can actually help others and move the needle on so many critical issues, we have to define our own personal values, and we have to find a path to adhere to those values and make them resonate and be visible for everybody else around us.
Well, thank you. To thine own self be true. I think that all of us can take that and use that every day. Senator Hashmi, thank you so much.